Smash the like button if you believe that the Wyatt Sicks are a horribly booked faction with no upside on the main roster. They come and go on TV, which is not good for the progression of the group.
You see, a lot of people always ask me, what are my thoughts about the Wyatt Sicks? And I wanted to wait. I wanted to wait it out for my thoughts about the Wyatt Sicks. Because you can't rush to judgment. That's the problem with fans of pro wrestling. You are quick to judge. You don't want to wait things out. You don't want things to marinate. You don't want things to cook. You want your meal right now as we speak. And that's the problem with fans of pro wrestling. And that's why a lot of gimmicks fail and a lot of characters fail, because you have no patience. Let's wait this thing out and then let's judge. And that's why I can finally give my opinion on the Wyatt Sicks. It's been what? Almost half a year now. So yes, I can now judge and give my opinion on the Wyatt Sicks. I can now say that this is a dead faction. And it's all Triple H's fault. I'm like, bruh, this was mainly your idea to bring back this group. You brought back Cross. You brought back, what's the guy's name? Eric Rowan. You brought back Bo Dallas. You brought back super thick Nikki Cross. You brought back Joe Gacy, Dexter Lumis, Eric Rowan, Bo Dallas. You brought back all these people to satisfy the memory of Bray Wyatt. But in hindsight, Triple H has buried the memory of Bray Wyatt based on this group and the fact that we rarely see them. This is why spooky gimmicks are dead in 2025. This is why you cannot push a spooky, scary faction. This faction did have upside. This faction did have potential, because this faction was the brainchild of Bray Wyatt in terms of his gimmicks, his thoughts. This faction was an extension of Bray Wyatt. That's why at first the crowd didn't like the Wyatt Sicks. But it's not their fault. This is the fault of Paul Levesque. I'm like, why is the Wyatt Sicks at home? I believe that kayfabe picture buried the Wyatt Sicks. That's my take. I remember when the Wyatt Sicks first made their debut, and then they took a picture with a fan at a coffee shop or at a restaurant. But yes, they took a picture with a fan, and a lot of fans felt like they ruined kayfabe based on that picture, because their group is based on supernatural powers. Their faction is based on a spooky, scary group. And maybe Paul Levesque felt like, man, how can I push you now as a scary faction when you just took a picture with a fan without your costume on? Maybe Paul Levesque felt like, man, I cannot push you as a top faction when you somewhat buried kayfabe. You see, the problem with pushing scary characters is, most likely, man, you gotta be a character 24/7. Let's be real. I'm sorry, man, you gotta be dedicated like Kane. You gotta be dedicated like The Undertaker. You gotta keep up kayfabe. I'm not talking about regular characters like Cody Rhodes, Roman, and cosplay, Dane Priest, Drew Mack, the Mac Daddy. Those guys can be themselves if they are caught in public. But a guy like a Bo Dallas, Bray Wyatt, Kane, Taker, they gotta keep up kayfabe in public, because most likely, man, we are not going to take you seriously if you don't take your character seriously out in public. If, let's say, Bo Dallas is at an autograph signing, man, you better wear that Uncle Howdy mask. That's my point. You better wear it. If not, bruh, why, as a fan, should we take you seriously as a spooky guy when I'm catching you at an autograph signing and your ass got a big ass smile on your face without the Uncle Howdy mask? Like I said, regular characters don't need to keep up kayfabe, but a spooky, scary character needs to keep up kayfabe. Let's talk about Abaddon. Super thick Abaddon. That female keeps up kayfabe. Check out her IG page. Check out her TikTok page. That female keeps up kayfabe with her spooky, scary character. Like I said, remember, super thick Abaddon she needs to stick to kayfabe. But a female like Jade Cargill, who else? Bianca Belair, sexy ass Liv Morgan. Those females, they don't need to keep up kayfabe because their characters are based on reality. Not so much Abaddon. Not so much super thick Nikki Cross. I believe that Triple H lost faith in this faction when they ruined kayfabe. Like I said, as a spooky character, you need to keep up kayfabe. I don't care if people know that you're faking. Who cares? It's called trying. It's called keeping up with the character. Because in 2025, not a lot of people believe in spooky characters. So make them believe. And that's why this faction is at home getting no TV time. That's why this is a dead, failed faction. Now, let's talk about Bray Wyatt. This group is called the Wyatt Sicks. So how come this group is not getting TV time? They are being treated like jobbers. By that same logic, if they are not on TV, that means they are being treated like jobbers. By that same logic, they had that one good feud with the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable, the Creed Bros, and Ivy Nile. They had that one good feud. And ever since then, they have been at home jobbers. And yes, you can be a jobber even by not wrestling. If you are an MVP in catering, that means you qualify as a jobber. It doesn't matter if you don't wrestle. You can still be called a jobber even by chilling in catering. So, if Bray Wyatt is dead, what does this have to do with Bray Wyatt? Well, let's say Bray Wyatt was still alive and he was being booked by Triple H. Would this be his booking? That's what I think. Would this be his booking? I'm talking about the last version of Bray Wyatt that we saw on TV. Because I feel like if Karrion Kross barely gets quality TV time, if the Wyatt Sicks, who is based on the memory of Bray Wyatt, if they barely get TV time, what if Bray was alive? Would Bray be in catering? To me, man, I think this is very telling. I think Triple H would book Bray Wyatt exactly like his brother, Uncle Howdy. I think Triple H would book Bray Wyatt like he books Karrion Kross. Triple H is burying a group that's called the Wyatt Sicks. Okay, by that same logic, why wouldn't Triple H bury Bray Wyatt? So why wouldn't Triple H bury the guy who's named after the group? Because at first, they were being booked like an extension of Bray Wyatt. But guess what? They are no longer on TV. They are not being used. So what makes you think Triple H would have used Bray Wyatt? There's no guarantee. I think that's a crazy sign that most likely if Bray was alive right now as we speak, I think Triple H would have buried Bray Wyatt as a fake pro wrestler on SmackDown. What use would Triple H have with Bray Wyatt? Triple H, he sucks at bringing back fake pro wrestlers that Vince McMahon released. He sucks. He sucks at booking released talents that Vince McMahon brought back. Paul Levesque, he sucks at booking released talents that Vince McMahon released. What about Braun Strowman? Bro, let's be real. So far, he's buried the Wyatt Sicks, and then he buried Braun Strowman, and now Braun Strowman is gone. Those people that I just mentioned had a connection with Bray Wyatt. So that's my point. What makes you think Triple H would book Bray Wyatt as a main event top talent? I think Triple H would have been bored with Bray Wyatt, just like with Braun Strowman. If TKO released Braun Strowman, then yes, most likely I think TKO would have released Bray Wyatt. Because let's talk about his feud with Bobby Lashley. Let's talk about his feud with LA Cosplay. It felt like LA Cosplay was getting more over than Bray Wyatt in that feud. Oh yeah, by the way, side note on LA Cosplay. He's too old to be a top guy in the World Wrestling Federation. He's too old to be the top baby face. Let me repeat, because it seems like we have a miscommunication every time I talk in my videos. Listen carefully. He's too old to be pushed as a top guy in this company. He's too fucking old, okay? It's not going to happen, so shut the F up, okay? You people are hard of hearing. You're fucking deaf. He's too old to be a top guy in this company. It's too late. He's a mid-card guy at his age, as he should be. Okay, by your same logic, when Vince McMahon was running this company, you had an issue with Vince McMahon pushing part-timers, old guys like a Bill Goldberg. You had a problem with Vince McMahon pushing old guys and not pushing young talents. LA Cosplay is fucking old to be a top guy. You see, when Vince McMahon was doing it, oh, it's bad. But when Paul Levesque does it, it's good. That's not how that works. Because at least Vince McMahon was pushing old guys that were still draws. That's my fucking point. It's like, what is this? All elite fake pro wrestling? Where you push a bunch of guys in their fucking 40s as top guys? Like I said, what is this? All elite wrestling? No, this is the World Wrestling Federation. My God, man, some fucking jackass told me that LA Cosplay should be pushed as the #1 good guy in the World Wrestling Federation over Cody fucking Rhodes. I'm like, wow, you people have low IQs. Really, you have low IQs. I explained it perfectly. Why LA Knight is too fucking old to be pushed as the top guy in the company. I'm like, he hasn't been here long enough. Plus, he's old. That's not going to work out long term. Listen, you idiots. There's a reason why Triple H is pushing LA Knight as a mid-card guy. That's what he is. This man has not left the mid-card in over a year. What does that tell you? Triple H sees what I see. He's a mid-card guy. He's too old to be a top guy in this company. Hell, how about you leave? If you want to be a top guy at a cosplay, how about you leave for All Elite Fake Pro Wrestling? Tony Khan loves to push guys your age. But this is the big leagues. This is the World Wrestling Federation. Cody Rhodes, he's different. Cody is a homegrown talent. That's the difference. Now, let's talk about the Wyatt Sicks. And do they have upside in the World Wrestling Federation? I'm going to say no. The fact that Karrion Kross pinned Uncle Howdy, that's bad. Because right now, as we speak, what is Karrion Kross doing on the main roster that's spectacular? Nothing. So, if Kross pins Uncle Howdy, what does that mean for Uncle Howdy? If Kross is not being pushed as a top guy or as a top mid-card guy, what does that mean for Bo Dallas? That's not good. The moment that Kross pinned Uncle Howdy, that was a massive sign that the push of the Wyatt Sicks was done. And Triple H got bored with the Wyatt Sicks. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to add that LA Cosplay, his best years are behind him. His best years were in Impact Wrestling. Those were his prime years. His prime years were in Impact Wrestling. That's why he cannot be a top guy in this company. His best years are behind him. His best years were in Impact Wrestling as Eli Drake. It's crazy how every time the Wyatt Sicks shows up, they show up as a group, meaning they don't get booked separately, and that's a bad thing. I'm talking about Dexter Lumis, Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy. They don't get used in the tag team division. What about super thick Nikki Cross? She don't get used in the female division. Howdy he don't get used in the singles division. So by that same logic, the Wyatt Sicks are catering MVPs. Listen, all I'm saying is the fact that Braun Strowman got released, the fact that the Wyatt Sicks are now catering MVPs, what does that tell you? That tells you that if Bray Wyatt was still alive, most likely Triple H would have booked Bray Wyatt like a job guy. He would get no TV time. I think Bray Wyatt would have been a catering MVP. I'm telling you, it's a damn shame. Because at first, I was a huge fan of the Wyatt Sicks. I felt like Uncle Howdy had the upside to be the next thing of the World Wrestling Federation. But Triple H doesn't know how to book the Wyatt Sicks. Because the only guy who knew how to book Bray Wyatt was Vince McMahon. And I'm done.